If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge, from worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. But for those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio. The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America. In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
Was it? Was it really?
How many times have we talked about this? You know it was. You saw it. That thing was at least the size of your fingernail.
The best part, still to this day, you shrieking like a little girl and yell, "Kill it!" And I don't mean,
right.
I don't mean like, kill that. I mean more like a, kill it! And it was 2 rooms away.
It was 3 rooms away, if you recall, that particular studio that we had. That was the silo, if I'm not mistaken.
That was the silo.
And it was 3 rooms away. And yes, but why do you have to say I shriek like a little girl? Are you Donald Trump? Do you have something against little girls?
I have nothing against anybody, and you know that.
No, I don't know that. You are the blatant bigot. There's a reason you got your name.
A name that I wear proudly, by the way, at this point. I've given up trying to fight it.
You do.
Because for a while, I didn't want people to get the wrong idea. But then the comedy aspect took over. The part of me that likes hijinks.
Right.
And shenanigans.
And tomfoolery.
A little bit of tomfoolery, jackassery, if you will.
Yeah.
And I realized how freaking funny it is. And now I just go with it. By the way, folks, you are listening to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network.
You think they don't know what they're listening to?
It is the 23rd of September, 2015. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Now, I have a story to tell. All of our listeners who've been with us for a little while know that every time I go to Disneyland, I have a personal jihad against people that are not disabled.
Yes.
That is not disabled. Where they ride their Rascals or their go-karts or their Johnny 5 units or whatever the hell they ride, and they go through the handicap line, right? And they're not handicapped because they stand up and they waddle their way.
Stroll right in.
Yes. And so I go on a personal jihad, a rant about this every time I get back from Disneyland. You, sir, just got back.
I did.
And I asked you a very important question. And your reaction was great. I wish I would have had it on the air because you went off on a similar rant.
Here's the deal. And for a lot of people who don't know this, and this is why I kind of take this personally. The last couple years of my father's life, he was in a wheelchair. He was a double amputee. Oftentimes dealt with blocked handicap ramps, people parking in handicap spots. By the way, everyone in the chat room at SHR Media DisneyLand.com. Thank you so much for joining us. And Mary, Clint loves you too, just like I do.
Thank you, Mary. I love you too.
And, we dealt with that. You know what I mean? We had to deal with that. But my father was truly handicapped, and he didn't even like being handicapped. That was the funniest part. He
didn't like parking in the stalls and that sort of stuff.
It was almost like a shame.
Right.
You know, he didn't feel, even though he did need it, he didn't feel he needed it. And so he just didn't like it. My father was a proud guy, but nonetheless, my nephew's 5th birthday, we went to Disney World. My father was a double amputee at that point. My nephew Cameron, my father trooped on a lot of different rides, and would truly, he would take the handicap entrance, and he would get up with his cane and double foot to walk away, getaway sticks attached to his legs, and shuffle over and get in the ride and get out. He didn't like doing that, but honestly, my mother made him. So that's just at that point. I get a really funny story about my father's first leg being lost that actually I want to tell after this because you'll get a kick out of it. But
do you realize everything you just said? Hang on a second. I have a really funny story about my dad losing his leg. You'll get a kick out of it. I don't know if you did that on purpose or not, but I couldn't let that pass.
Oh man, I have more handicap jokes about my father I learned them all from him, to be honest. So anyhow, I go to Disney this time, and I've seen it in other places, but I've never seen it as prominent as I did in Disneyland. People, and you can attest, Mary, you can attest, you've met me, Dan's seen me, other people have seen me. I'm not a small guy. I'm not morbidly obese to the eye.
No, not morbidly.
Technically I am, according to my doctor, but what the hell does he know?
Nothing. He's a freaking quack.
Exactly.
We've been through this.
And every single one I
think he just plays one on TV.
Well, what's funny is, if you're going to have a doctor's office, why in a hollow van down by a river? I know you want that aquatic feeling,
right?
But seriously,
right, and everything is not a proctological exam,
right? That's so weird. First of all, I'm not even over 40 yet, and I've had at least 12 of them in the last 6 months. So,
right. And why were both his hands on your shoulders?
It was very bizarre to me. But according to the correspondence school certificate he had on the wall, he's a doctor. So,
right.
Either way. So I'm in Disney, and we're waiting in line, and we went during a slow time of the year, so you're waiting only 20, maybe 25 minutes. And I'm watching these people who are, as you say, fat.
Mm-hmm.
And they go scooting up. They'll beep at you if you don't move out of their way quick enough. And they will run you down, by the way.
If you're a maintenance supervisor for a commercial property, you've had to deal with everything from leaky faucets to flickering light bulbs. But nothing's worse than that ancient boiler that's lived in the building since the day it was built, 50 years ago. It's enough to make anyone lose their cool. That's where Grainger comes in. With industrial-grade products and dependable fast delivery, Grainger can help with any challenge, from worn-out components to everyday necessities. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Now taxes is 100% free when you file in the TurboTax app if you're a first-time filer or didn't file with TurboTax last year. That's right. Just do your own taxes in the TurboTax app by February 18th. Had a few jobs last year? It's free. Have a lot of forms? Yep, still free. Have a bunch of new invisible crypto coins? Heads up, it's still free. Convinced you saw Bigfoot even if your friends don't believe you? That has absolutely nothing to do with taxes, but you better believe it's still absolutely free. Just download and do your own taxes in the TurboTax app by February 18th. All tax forms, all 100% free. Now this is taxes. See if you qualify in the TurboTax app. Excludes TurboTax Live, must start and file in-app by February 18th.
Right to the front of the line, pop out of it like somebody threw a donut in the damn car.
Yeah.
Hop right in, go through the whole thing, and then on the way out. All the while, and I told you about this kid I saw who was with this family. He was probably about 14, 15 years old. He had an obvious broken ankle. It was casted all the way up and down, this, that, and the other thing. And this young man could have easily gone into the handicap line with his family, by the way. In Disney, the whole family can go.
Oh, yeah.
And instead, they waited in line. And at the parks, there wasn't enough people in the park. You start seeing the same people. every single ride, they waited in line. There are other people, elderly people in Rascals, who were not, they were just old, couldn't walk the whole park by themselves, but whatever, who were waiting in line the whole time. People on crutches, people with disabilities that I absolutely thought would warrant going to the front of the line. I have no problem with that. All waiting.
Yep.
While Chubby and Boom Boom would take that stroll and like with pride.
Aren't there any good capitalist handicap folks out there? Like, rent yourself out for the day.
It was so
right. Would you, look,
Mary said I'm just slightly rounded like a teaspoon of sugar. That's kind of appropriate.
That's kind of sweet.
But you know, I get
your
so
new nickname might be
Teaspoon. I get so frustrated, but it really shows you what's wrong with this country, right? The easy way out. Everything's the easy way out now, and it's more. And that's prime example because listen,
and screw everybody else.
Right.
It's all about me.
I paid my money to get in.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. But for me, it's not even the overweight thing, the fat thing. It has nothing to do with that. There are plenty of fat people that wait in line. Plenty of fat people that wait in line with me. It is this entitlement of, I can rent this, and instead of waiting in line like those poor fools who are just as good as me, but I'm better for some reason.
Right.
I am going to rent this for $20 and then get to go to the front of the line pass for every single thing.
Right. No, I'm with you. And the reason I go off on that, and yes, look, overweight people wait in line. Most people are good people and do this. But typically the ones I have seen that do not pay attention, they tend to be a little overweight.
Yeah, a lot overweight, actually, a lot of times. A lot overweight. And that's the thing that bothered me. Now, listen, I'm not saying they're not overweight because they have another disability. You know, but it's as frustrating as when you see somebody pull up into a handicap
Twinkie
spot.
addiction is not a disability.
Well,
I mean, the Obama administration may categorize it as such.
They may actually be overweight because of a disease that limited them from doing certain things. Who knows? There are thyroid issues. There are some issues out there I will acknowledge. But it is as frustrating to me as seeing a person park in a handicap spot, reach through their glove compartment, pop out a handicap placard, throw it up in the mirror, and then jump out and stroll away.
Yes.
California, the weed cards out here, right?
Yep.
Same thing. It's medicine. It's medicine.
You're 22 freaking years old. What do you mean it's medicine?
I have high anxiety or I have a back injury.
Yeah.
So you're just going to smoke weed all day? Yeah, and the state pays for it. It's that sort of entitlement mentality, this I don't give a damn, and I'm special because somebody told me I'm special mentality. I had a conversation with a woman at the hotel.
Why?
We had all these kids in the pool. And
wait, while all the kids were in the pool?
Like there was a whole bunch of people there. So we started talking, and I brought up teachers. And just how...
Did you just have a Peter Brady moment?
Teachers. How I'm sick and tired of how many teachers feel it is their job to teach morals and things that should be taught at home.
Yes. And
how they feel that parents are stupid, and this is the mindset that a lot of teachers, not every teacher, but a lot of teachers have. And it's their job. And she said, well, you know, they're not being done at home. And I said, I understand that, but that's the parents' job.
Yes.
What if the parents aren't going to do it? I hate to say we may lose a generation,
but we may lose a generation.
Right? We have to worry about long term. We can't worry about this generation. And she said, you know, I said, but here's the problem. Much like you have so many other, you have doctors who work in ERs. Instead of treating people with gaping gunshot wounds that are coming in, whatever, they're dealing with, they're supposed to all of a sudden treating psych patients and all this other stuff that they're not really, that's not their expertise, but they get stuck doing it. Like cops now having to be social workers. I said teachers, instead of teaching, have been thrown on to them all these other jobs. Social worker, home care worker, CPS informant, blah, 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 blah. And instead of teachers going, hey, wait a minute, we're not qualified for this. This isn't what we should be doing. They want to do the right thing. And I think it's, you know, held path to hell is paved with good intentions. I think it's with good intentions that it started. But all of a sudden, they started being the moral compass.
Is it good intentions, or is it we know, or is it we know better than you?
No, I don't think it started that way. I think there was a vacuum. I think that with mental health, special needs students.
I was talking about the schools.
Well, I know, but listen, hear me out.
Okay.
I think when money started going away from certain places, and in the late 90s you saw that a lot, right? When budget really started to take a hit and whatever. I think that the services disappeared that were once available to the schools. Special needs used to have a lot more. And I think special needs should have a lot, right? It's a totally... You're not teaching special needs kids the same thing you're teaching in 11th grade English.
Right.
So, but what happens is these teachers who have the same exact qualifications get stuck with special needs kids in their classes because somebody's student said, well, even though they're special needs, they can't be treated any differently, so you have to go into this class. Well, what's special needs now? Well, you can run down the list, right? Everything from mommy didn't hug me enough to legit special needs. And I said to her, the problem is quite simply is other places have failed along the way, and the teachers have kind of just, and I think they meant to do it well when they started doing it. Now it's changed where they think they should be teaching morals and whatnot.
Okay, because that's where I wanted to touch on.
Right, but so hear me out on this. And I said to her, wouldn't your job be a hell of a lot easier if you only had to teach important things, reading, writing, arithmetic? And when it came to CPS cases, when it came to this child's out of control, when it came to special needs, they went the right place. And she said, yeah. And I said, so the system has failed.
Yes.
And as a result, you guys take this on, and with any amount of power and a lot of people, it grows, right? All of a sudden, you kind of, I know best because we were forced to do this, so now we're going to do it my way or the highway. And in a way, I understand that mentality of, all right, if I have to do...
Zaxby's just out-Philly the Philly again. The Zaxby's Chicken Philly is back. With garlic aioli, sauteed peppers and onions, decadent melty cheese, and your choice of Zaxby's signature crispy chicken fingers or delicious grilled chicken. But it's only back for a limited time, so enjoy it while you can. No pressure. It's just the greatest sandwich of all time on a ticking clock. Order the Chicken Philly today. Who's got the sauce? Zaxby's.
Zaxby's Sensation Salad is so much more than a plain old salad. It's a salad. Which begs the question, at what point does a salad stop being a salad and become a salad? Is it when you add Zaxby's fried chicken to it? Crunchy wontons? Asian slaw? Citrus vinaigrette? Teriyaki glaze? Sweet and spicy sauce? Or is it when you top it all with a handmade perfectly fried egg roll? Without a doubt, the egg roll. The Sensation Salad, only at Zaxby's.
I'm going to do it the damn way I'm supposed to do it. I don't even want to do it. But you're making me do this now. And I said, if all that was taken off your plate, if special needs students were actually treated appropriately, and then the kids in the classroom that aren't special needs were actually being taught appropriately, and only taught, then your job would be a lot easier. And you could maybe reach those one or two kids who need that little bit of extra help and attention. And I think that's the problem.
What'd she say?
Oh, she actually agreed with me.
Of course she did, because sackheads. So, I think we were talking about two separate things.
Right.
I think that I agree with you in the sense that the special needs programs and those sorts of things were designed with good intentions in mind, even though I don't believe that that's really gone the way where schools are supposed to take them.
Right.
However, the morality thing, I think, is by design and nefarious, and that I don't think started with good intentions.
Well,
I believe that started through the progressive movement in order to just like who was it? Woodrow Wilson said we want to make the sons as unlike their fathers.
CNN with saying your kids are all ours and all that stuff.
Right.
Blah, blah, blah.
And so I think that is a nefarious purpose in terms of because now we can teach whatever under the guise of tolerance.
That's what that was the exact argument that I had with her. Is listen, it's not your job to teach my kid tolerance. It's not your job to teach this. It's my job.
Right.
Well, what about the kids who don't get that at home? Those parents need to be dealt with. And I said, I absolutely think that more parents need to go to jail because they raise their kids horribly, and not in the sense of.
If you can violate a law, right?
I mean, neglectful parents, legitimate. You know what I mean,
right?
Not just because they suck at parenting, but because they've actually broken laws. And I said that to her. I said, and I understand that we do want to save the kid. And I think the average teacher. See, I agree that the design's nefarious, but I don't think the average teacher in the classroom is told that design.
Right.
I think that it's sold to them in a way of. It's up to you to change these kids' lives and only you. And they're kind of set up to fail, if you will, because what's put into their heads. And I have a friend of mine who's a teacher, and she even said this. She says, I have a kid in my class who was expelled 2 years ago for a violent act against another student. Expelled from school. The state of California says you can only be expelled a maximum of 2 years from a public school before you have to return or be allowed to return. She's like, now I have this kid whose father is a neo-Nazi, legit, like, has no problem saying it. This kid is a supremacist at 17 years old and still acts on it while he's in school, and I was pretty much told there's nothing I can do about it. So
yeah, you have a kid that bites a Pop-Tart into a gun, and all of a sudden hell breaks loose.
And that's what she said. She said, it's ridiculous. And she totally gets, she doesn't think it's her job to teach morals. She thinks it's her job to teach reading, writing, arithmetic, history, science, things like that, social studies, whatever you want to call it, civics or blah, 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 how our country works. But the simple fact is these things are forced upon teachers. So even good teachers who would listen to this radio show and high-five us and vote with us, and they're out there, don't get me wrong, they're out there, get stuck absorbing that, just like Common Core. Like, you have to do this. Well, the teacher didn't teach me that. Well, why not? Why didn't you teach them that they have to accept this person for who they are? Well, because that's not my job. No, it is. So, and then these teachers now, it's been happening long enough where they're being taught in college that this is their job. Their job is to teach moral compass.
I saw a great article of a professor, and he said
and Marianne here.
No, they're different professor, like an actual professor. And he said, he sees so many students that are coming out where they think socialism is okay. He goes, so I give them a choice. And I can't remember, I can try and find the article here on break. I don't have it off the top of my head, the school. But he gives his class a choice because they come out of schools thinking that socialism is a good thing because that's what they're learning in schools now for the last 13 years of their life. He gives them a choice. He says, okay, I will grade. He goes, and I will completely let this class decide how I grade. I will grade as a capitalist or I will grade as a socialist. And before you answer, let me explain what that means. He said, if I grade like a capitalist, the grade you get is the grade you earn. The grade is by a combination, I think he said it was 5 tests. If you want to have extra credit, you can do extra credit work. Your grade and points you get is commensurate upon the work product I get. And each person is responsible for his or her own grade. Or I can grade as a socialist, which means everybody in this class gets the same grade. I average everything out. And what the class average is, that's the grade everybody gets. So if the class average is an F, everybody gets an F. If the class average is an A, everybody gets an A, or anything in between. He said, so what that means is if you choose to do all this extra credit, you choose to bust your rear end, you choose to do all the work, and you do A quality work, you may end up with a B, a C, or a D, depending upon what the class average is. Conversely, if you are a slacker and you do nothing,
you're still going to end up with a B, C, or D.
You might end up with an A, B, C, D, or even an F, depending on what the class average is. And he said it's amazing, without fail, every single time, a vast majority of the class wants to do it the capitalist way.
Yes.
And the ones that vote to do it the socialist way are the ones that fail as class anyways. He said, and it was just a tremendous, he goes, and I pointed out, he goes, not that who failed, but the difference, he said, and it's just a tremendous way to teach about socialism.
Oh,
Now I want to get your reaction. Not to that, but there is something I want to get Sean's reaction to.
Okay.
It's not politics related, but it's about something I saw. And I thought...
Over your nose?
Yes. And you're going to hear it over your barrel belly.
You don't realize the marvelous echo it causes.
Yeah, I do.
No, really, it goes throughout the entire... It's beautiful.
No, it does. It's actually sound deadening. We don't need a lot of foam in the studio. The sound reverberates out of my nostrils, and it's stopped by your belly. But I saw, and I was like, I saw it, and it bothered me. And I didn't know if it would bother you. I think you're going to go one of two ways on this. And also I wanted to see if you'd catch the little nuance. I saw somebody wearing a baseball jersey. And they weren't going to a game. They were just walking around out in public. And it was a New York Yankees jersey. And their name was on the back of the Yankees jersey that they were wearing.
The person's name?
Yes. Your reaction to that? Because there's a couple things here,
Yeah.
right? Yankees have never put their names on the back of a jersey.
Yep.
Taxes was feeling so stuck. Sitting in traffic, squeezing into a parking spot, all to squeeze in getting tax help during your lunch break. Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert who does your taxes for you, while you go about your day getting real-time notifications about their progress and the most money back guaranteed. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile apps. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
Hardy Fiber Cement Siding is proven to withstand water, pests, and fire better than wood-based siding. And it looks better while doing it. Hardy Siding has been chosen for 10 million homes and counting. See the proof at jameshardy.com.
So are you a baseball purist where that upsets you because somebody actually messed up a MLB jersey and doesn't know how to wear it right? So are you going to go love of game, or are you going to go hatred for the Yankees and think that's absolutely awesome that a jackass Yankees fan did that?
Well, it's ironical, as Big Fat Paulie would say. It's ironical. The fact that somebody who is such a Yankees fan would put their name on the back of the jersey. And I've seen, the funny part is I've seen other people, like other jerseys with Yankees names on it. You know, I can remember I see Jeter's names and other stuff. And you're right, the Yankees historically do not put their names on the jerseys.
I don't think they ever have.
The only time they do, if I'm not mistaken, is during All-Star games.
Okay. But that's not the Yankees team.
No. But you know what I mean. So, well, back in the day, though, they used to wear regular jerseys. They used to wear their team jerseys. They didn't always wear the East-West jerseys.
Right.
And even, so I'm talking about back then, they used to put their names on.
But just the All-Stars.
Oh, yeah. Just the All-Stars. So, I think it's ironic, and it shows the intelligence of the average New York Yankees fan to do such. It is an insult to the game as itself, and you know, as we talked earlier, the loss of Yogi Berra this week.
Yeah.
It ain't over till it's over. Well, and you know, like I said, you were like, but he was a Yankee, and I said, yeah, but he was a baseball guy. Yogi was always a baseball guy. He loved the game. He always respected the game. He was good around the games. Like I said, when Mariano Rivera retired and a couple of the other ones, yeah, he played for the evil empire, but he is a person. Jeter the same way. He is a person was so positive for the game of baseball that you can't overlook that no matter what jersey you wear. Same thing with Yogi Berra. Just a wonderful ambassador to the game. I'm a purist to the game. I love the game. I think the game has already. I don't like instant replay. I enjoy the human error aspect of umpires in the game because that's part of the game. That's the way it's supposed to be. I don't like technology invading our life as much as it does anyhow, and that's just, I don't like it in football. Even if it's a bad call, it's a bad call, right? Life sucks.
Yeah, but you're talking big money at these levels. So would you say, hey, maybe at the playoff and championship levels?
No. I don't care.
Do you remember the Kings and the LA Lakers?
I remember a lot of different ones.
And years later, the officials actually came out and said, yeah, we were told to skew that game.
That's different.
How?
Because that's manipulation versus an actual just bad call.
But how do you differentiate? And that's what I'm saying. Hang on a second. So for a playoff game or a championship game, would it be worth it to avoid that manipulation? Because it has happened. It happened to our hometown team here in Sacramento.
I hate to say it, but at that point, people need to speak loudly to that league, whatever league that is.
But it's too late. The game's in the books.
Next year, nobody goes to a game. You hurt their pocketbook.
Yeah, but that's not going to happen, and you know that.
I think it was 1998, Sox-Yankees ALCS. One of the changes that in that series that put the Red Sox in a bad spot was Chuck Knobloch on a second base for the Yankees on a tag that didn't happen on Nomar Garciaparra. Every replay showed that it was 8 inches away from Nomar. The umpire's position, if you look at it, as furious as I was that night, when you go back and look at it, the position he was at, he could not see the separation. He made the best call with what he had. As much as I hate it, I think it's part of the game, and it needs to be preserved that way.
But how do you know the difference between, like I said, between just bad calls and while the game's in progress, there's nothing that can be done about it?
it doesn't matter.
And you're talking about big money at the championship level. Now, on a side issue, Yankees have never put their names on the back of their jerseys, game jerseys, other than perhaps the All-Star game. But they were the first team to put numbers on the back of their jerseys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The White Sox were the first ones to put their names on the back of the jerseys. And did the Yankees ever get along with the White Sox?
Not historically, no.
The Yankees ever get along with anybody?
Not historically, no.
What a bunch of a-holes. And I know we're almost up against a break.
You know what's sad when I, as a Red Sox fan, am actually rooting for Toronto this year, just because I want them to edge out the Yankees going into the playoffs. I want to make sure they stay ahead.
Right. Even when they're playing your team.
Yeah, exactly. No. I'm like, we can give them one more out. That's fine. There's always next year, kids.
I'm the same way. So before we take a break, I do want to say, as an Oakland Athletics fan, and we're having a rough year, that this Saturday, Tim Hudson is going to be going against Barry Zito.
This is kind of cool. And for those who don't know, Hudson, Zito, and Mulder used to all be on the Oakland A's, and they were a nasty rotation.
Nasty rotation, yeah.
And then Zito had left the league for, 2.5 years?
Zito went to the Giants. Hudson went to the Giants.
Yeah, they went, and then Zito,
left. Yep.
For a few years, and now he's back starting because, well,
so he came back. He pitched AAA Nashville, which the Nashville Sound of the Oakland A's AAA team. He pitched Nashville, and he actually did pretty well down there. And so they called him up. The A's depth is 0 right now, so they called him up. And I think they have to be doing it for novelty, and I'm glad they are. They're doing it for the fans. I mean, the Giants aren't doing anything in the postseason. A's aren't doing anything in the postseason. So they probably got together and figured out, what the hell? Let's have a fan day. Let's just throw these guys against each other.
Right.
I think it's awesome.
I think it's awesome. Hey, a little nostalgia, right?
Absolutely. Nostalgia. I don't think we would see this if either one was in playoff contention.
Oh, Lord, no.
There's no way. No way.
You wouldn't see this.
But they're not, so...
I might as well have a little fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I give them a lot of credit.
Absolutely. I think I predict the score is going to be 16-14 Oakland.
Yeah, that's in the third inning.
Right. Hey, and they're not going to pull them.
Really? No. Let's see where he goes with this.
Hey, what's the record for most runs scored in a game? All right, let's do this.
Yeah, let's see. Hey, real quick, before we go to break, Dan Butcher has a message for you that it's Rangers 4, Oakland 1 right now. Texas Rangers, enough said. That's all he's saying. I don't know what he means.
Do we have it? Sacco, can you block him? Oh, good job. You can beat the A's. The Rangers are awesome.
Oh, man.
Hey, let's talk about the Niners next. This would be great.
Hardy Fiber Cement Siding is proven to withstand water, pests, and fire better than wood-based siding. And it looks better while doing it. Hardy Siding has been chosen for 10 million homes and counting. See the proof at jameshardy.com.
The Oakland A's are the Scott Walker of the MLB right now.
Exactly.
That's right, I went there. And I like Scott Walker. He just exited early, which the A's did too.
Right. So who's the Rick Perry then?
The Astros.
Okay.
No, actually, the Astros are doing all right this year too, though.
Yeah. Be the Red Sox.
No, there's Cleveland. No matter what, you can always point to Cleveland.
You can always point to Cleveland. Although Cleveland has Major League.
Right. The only time they've done well in the playoffs in recent years is in a movie.
But you can always point to Major League.
We got to take a break. When we come back,
I want to talk about another incident that I want to get Sean's reaction on. That happened, military incident that happened involving one of our Air Force aircraft.
Yeah, I actually know, and I will give you my reaction live on the air here.
No, you don't.
Okay, on the Sidekids Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Stick around.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean,
Dude, I'm not saying calf was stupid promo.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on The Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific from me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Who listens to the Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across the border, we have to take them in.
Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. Obviously, he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to the Andrea Kaye Show, Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
And welcome back, Sackheads Radio Show.
Yeah, we're back.
I know we're back.
We're really back this time.
Not like last time.
Not like all the other times that we screw it up.
Where's Sacco?
I don't know.
Speaking of screwing it up. So last week, there was a Chinese fighter jet made an intercept of an Air Force plane.
Yes.
Over the Yellow Sea. My first question.
Yes.
Racist or funny?
It's racist.
Yellow Sea.
I knew as soon as you said the Yellow Sea.
It's just north and slightly west of the East China Sea, which makes sense. The Yellow Sea is bordered by China on the west, Korea, says it right. It's all over the media. I don't hear anybody screaming about how racist this is. We need to change the names.
If the Black Sea was in the middle of Africa,
you can guarantee it would be changed.
Absolutely.
Right.
Does that mean we could change the Potomac to the Rainbow Sea?
Something.
Right? Something appropriate?
Yeah.
It can't be called Potomac anymore.
So that was my first question. My second question is this.
I think this is an intentionally provocative action by China.
Well, there was that action where they flew very close to our ships before, and there was a formal complaint lodged.
Yes, that does a lot.
Well, actually, it did because these incidents are so far apart. Either that, or they actually couldn't find us before this. I don't know which. Now,
what do we do? Put them on 90 days probation for being assholes?
I don't know. Launch some international complaint.
Oh,
but apparently somebody got their rear chewed because it hasn't happened in a while. So they believe it's an isolated incident. I don't know. But the Chinese refer to the JH-7, which is the fighter that intercepted our aircraft, our RC-135. They call it the Flying Leopard, which you can't call it a Flying Tiger because it would be too reminiscent of when we bailed your asses out.
Did you say Flying Leopard?
Yes.
Okay.
But you know what NATO's name for it is?
What?
The Flounder.
Flounder?
Because they frown.
I frowned it. There's the plane. I frowned it. Oh, man, that's horrible. The Flounder. Have you ever read some of the NATO names? They're absolutely bizarre what their designations are for some. And I get it. It's just to give them a designation. It doesn't mean much.
I think I think this means something.
The Flounder.
Oh, yeah.
You heard what the NATO has given the new Iranian jet, right?
What?
The Crasher. It's NATO designator Crasher. Oh, that brings a lot of confidence into the
NATO designated pawn. Shark bait. That's weird. I don't understand why that's.
All their pilots. That's their code name. Is shark bait. Listen, I think that a response needs. Part of the problems that I think we get into this, we've seen it with Russia, and I know a lot of people say, oh, they've always done this, and they did this during the Cold War, and they're not doing anything crazy, but now you're starting to see the Chinese do it. I bet dollars to donuts that you will see Iran starting to follow suit here soon, that whole circle of evil, if you will, as I'm going to designate them, the Hounds of Hell.
Okay.
I think you're going to see them...
Or the Circle of Jerks?
Right. The Circle of Jerks. They will forever be known as the Circle of Jerks.
So submitted.
So submitted. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes.
Passed. They are officially the Circle of Jerks.
That is so great. I think you're going to start seeing more provocation. Listen, I know we'll probably get into Syria and Russia later, but we're starting to see Russia be more active. Russia's also trying to force their way into a former Slavic country and build a base.
Yep.
I can't remember which one it is. I think it's Belarus. Is it Belarus?
I don't know.
It's one of the ones right over in that area.
Yeah, we're opening Build-A-Bears. They're actually building base.
Yeah, exactly.
Build a base.
So the Russians are trying to expand. You're seeing China trying to get this airstrip in the middle of the Yellow Sea. What?
The what?
The Yellow Sea. I have a cold tonight, dude. I got a cold the last couple of days of vacation.
No, I just saw something funny that I was reading online.
I don't know what's with you tonight.
I don't.
Giggles and... You're gonna see.
I want to know how long until Fox News steals that one from
The
us.
Circle of Jerks. I can see the little radar on the bottom left corner of their runner, the little radar map with the pulse sign. Circle of Jerks. Circle of Jerks. I think Putin would actually be proud of that.
Oh yeah. I am the Circle of Jerks.
He wants to point out that Russia.
I am the Circle of Jerks leader. I am the biggest jerks in the circle.
If anyone in the circle is a jerk, it's me. Dan wants to point out that Russia, Iran, China, and North Korea all respect and fear President Obama. So, we should be fine.
That's true.
That's true.
Yeah,
So,
apologize.
Second best newsman of the business, folks. He's on top of it as always. I think you're going to see more joint and collaborative aggression. slowly build this up and start putting
Yes.
that influence in.
But that's
and
why I
put
say
it
I
in
don't
the
think
game.
I don't think Putin wants to see them.
But
with
I
a
think
nuke.
long term they'll have a nuke, but it'll be Russia's nuke.
Russia's nuke.
And China. Nothing.
Of the country.
No.
Oh, no, that's the wrong answer.
So yeah, no, I think this is starting to be a bigger issue than people are seeing. They're not looking. They're looking too much at individual actions versus the overall
When
picture.
did you really hear about Chinese pilots intercepting our aircraft?
Ever.
I mean, we've heard about Russians back and forth and us and the Russians, right?
They got their surveillance plane, 10 years ago, 11 years ago,
right?
That they forced down. And
But when have you ever really heard about China intercepting our aircraft?
Not often.
No.
Not often at all. So the fact that they're starting to do it now, and the fact that we know...
Are we going to be in a potential Cold War with an Arctic war again with Russia and a rice war with China? Like, I mean, what are we going to... What? What, is everything a joke with you all of a sudden?
If it's a rice war and we have to go to nukes, and China becomes scorched...
Is there enough water on Earth to cook it?
Would that be considered fried rice? I'm asking, I don't know.
And if an aircraft delivered it, would it be fly lice? It's an honest question.
A great article on Pundit Press right now titled, and it's by Danny Butcher, titled Pope Francis, a very, very progressive agenda. And it's, well, that comment was actually made by Bernie Sanders. If you read through it, it's kind of scary. And then there's a video underneath. And we're going to talk about the Pope's visit here real soon. I do want to talk about Russia in general. We're starting to see... I know we're talking about the three of them, but I want to talk about their individual actions. Like I said, we have this tendency to look at their individual actions and not put it all together, but there's a couple things that are going on with Russia right now.
You have to look at it all collectively.
Right, that I think you need to put into that collective agenda. We're talking about what was going on with Syria, and now there are troops officially on the ground in Syria, and the Russian government has actually acknowledged this, and the Syrian government has acknowledged this as well. And they're actively fighting against the rebels, whoever those rebels may be that day. As I said, Russia trying to expand and essentially strong-arm their way into a former Soviet country. I believe it's Belarus. That was in the news earlier this week as well. They're trying to get the band back together. And even if it's not the same exact players in the band, they're still trying to get a band back together. They're trying.
It's
to
kind of
have
like
that power
Journey. You don't have Steve
I was
Perry
thinking
anymore.
more of Chicago.
Well, you don't have Steve Perry anymore, so you get the Asian guy that sounds a lot like it, right?
Right.
Not that Russia's cozying up to the Asian guys. I mean, well, China, but you know what I mean.
Well, that kind of worked out well. Now,
It actually worked out really well, yeah.
But so you really, yeah, it is Belarus. Here it is from 4 days ago that they're trying to put it back in. So you really have to start looking at what Russia did before they were the Soviet power that they were. When they started taking over these countries after World War II, and once they moved in, they never left. And some of the countries, they got in under the guise of being a pal and then took over. And now the whole thing with Syria, and like I said, I believe they're going to try to expand their influence throughout Iran, throughout China, and some other countries. Look at Cuba right now. They already have that influence there in Cuba, and I think you'll see that expand, especially now that the Americans have opened an embassy there.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to see Russia be much more active in Cuba than they have been in years. We see their influence in Venezuela. We've seen their... You have to watch overall the moves that they're making. Then you throw China into the mix, and China's always been trying to land grab. North Korea, land grab. If they start working in coalition and they really get on the same page and start working as an official partnership, however that may come down, you are now looking at a world power that can do some damage. I know the French just said that they're officially pulling their contract with Russia for that aircraft carrier. Officially, like it was on ice for a little bit until they figured. They announced, I think it was yesterday, that they're done. They're not getting it. But China has the ability. China has an aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
And if they're working together,
I got an idea. Why don't you contract with us? We'll build you one. We can use the jobs.
Yeah, we'd love it, actually, as a matter of fact.
Matter of fact, we have some extra. Remember that picture I sent out of the 3 sitting in San Diego?
Yeah, we don't need them. But, you know, the military, the arms race is on, contrary to what people think is going on. We had Putin 2 weeks ago saying he needed to add nukes to his arsenal.
Well, last week we had Russia putting offensive weaponry in Syria, which you already touched on, but it wasn't just defensive, but now they're putting armor and everything else, offensive weapons.
And troops, they're on the move.
In there, yep.
And they're on the move. You're seeing an arms race that is taking place, a military buildup that is taking place with Russia, China, North Korea already has it, but Iran's expanding, Syria. Once Syria, the Russians go in, and the Russians will go in and squash the rebellion there. It's going to happen. They will be.
They need Assad in power.
Right. So they are going to be brutal.
For their port.
They're going to be brutal. They're going to be swift. You'll never hear the UN bitch about it because they're a voting member of the UN. But the Russians will go into Syria and do to women and children what everybody accuses Israel of doing to the Palestinians. Except the Russians are really going to do it. They don't care about those people either way.
And the interesting part is, did you see last week Russia called on Washington for military cooperation?
Yes.
Because they basically issued an ultimatum. They said they want to avoid any unintended incidents. We want your military cooperation in Syria because we don't want any unattended incidents. We don't want any. Right? You're going to pay us our protection money.
Well, what's going to happen the first time a coalition airstrike hits Russian armor by accident?
Right.
Oh, all of a sudden now we have an international incident. And you can't have the UN, I hate to say it, but the UN is more of a Russian puppet than they are for anyone else. I mean, look, they have a veto in the Security Council. If it turns out, if Russia goes in there and goes absolutely crazy and the international community has to go in and clean them out as well for some reason, the UN will do nothing because Russia will veto themselves. So you look at just how they put their... And listen, Putin's crazy, but he's not stupid. It is a chess game to him. It is a giant chess game to him.
But where the stakes are for
the
global influence. Global influence.
Oh, yeah. I mean, literally having enough control and reach around the world to strike anywhere at any time at any moment. I hate to say it, but they have a president who is playing chess, and we have a president who is playing...
Tiddlywinks.
Eating paste. No, tiddlywinks. Okay, I'll
tiddlywinks. Give me tiddlywinks.
I was going to say eating paste.
No, because he did authorize the Osama bin Laden.
Right. That's a no-brainer. That was a no-brainer. I don't care what anyone says.
But it's still, that's why it's tiddlywinks. Or Crazy Eights.
Crazy Eights. I'll give you Crazy Eights. Not even Chutes and Ladders.
No.
No Candyland.
No.
You know, the term "bozo" gets used all the time, and as time goes on...
Not Connect 4.
Not Connect 4. Connect 2.
Twister?
Twister, no.
That'd be Biden.
Yeah, Biden would be all about Twister with interns near the pool. Now that being
and oil.
And oil.
And a seal.
Either way, we need to be cautious because, like you said, this is another Cold War. The circle of jerks are not going away. I believe this is another Cold War, and I believe that this is an arms race that we are downsizing while everybody else is increasing. And you look at Germany's response, there's some people who are starting to speak out. I think Merkel said something a couple weeks ago about Russia's actions and how it's starting to be...
Merkel?
Starting to be a concern.
No, is that what I misheard?
I said Merkel.
Okay.
Angela. And how it's starting to be a concern. There's been a couple other world leaders who are actually starting to fight.
You called her Merkin one time, as I recall.
One time. And I remember somebody in the chat room who'd never heard it before actually Googled it. And in the middle of the show...
Because I was killing myself.
He used to send me messages all the time anyhow. It didn't matter. But in the middle of the show, starts texting me and almost yelling at me for saying it on the air. Because once he realized what it was, he was so horrified that I would say it. And I didn't mean to say it. That was the best part. That's one of the Freudians, like the absolute biggest Freudian slips of my life. The problem is how can you not say it?
And if you don't know what a merkin is, Google it now.
Don't Google it. Don't.
I'm just going to say what it is.
No, don't you dare.
What?
We even have a line, and that's too far.
What's too far? It's a wig for your genitalia.
But it was absolutely hysterical. But yeah, so you're starting to see other international leaders start to become growingly concerned. And listen,
they need to make a new Austin Powers movie.
Oh, good. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy, Merkin. I know. I knew where you were going with that. I think the first step you will see, I think the next biggest step you will see is Russia on the island off of Japan, helping them build that base and having aircraft stationed there. And I think that's going to be in the next 6 or 7 months. I don't think that's long term. I think they're going to have a field done and a tower up and enough to be able to operate from there very, very quickly. Because you're starting to see these actions that were, listen.
Well, somebody's going to have jets there. I mean, aircraft there. They're building the strip for a reason. Yeah.
But it's going to be a joint base. If you go back a couple years and you start looking at the invasion of Crimea, then nothing happened for a while. They denied the whole thing, but nothing happened. And then all of a sudden you see Russia start mounting this and doing joint operations and now they're getting closer and closer together. Something bigger is coming, and I don't think Syria is the big thing yet. I think Syria is kind of like, okay. He's going to be the hardcore talker in this. The Chinese president's going to be the nice guy because everyone around this world loves the Chinese president. He's such a good guy, and he's really trying. North Korea and Iran will just shut up and do what they're told. But yes, absolutely.
Militarily.
Russia has been more and more critical of Israel in the last few years.
Yeah. So what if Russia does back their play?
This president will do nothing. This president will do nothing. Dan nailed it in the chat room, Dan Butcher from Pundit Press. Russia is the military arm for China. Iran and North Korea will be the terrorist arm for China. And I absolutely...
For Russia?
For China.
Okay.
I think they go together. But yeah, I think Russia will use their military. People, and I think China knows this. And I know we're past a break, and I'm sorry, folks. People know this. China has such a big and strong military, and they actually do, that I think if they put their military into action anywhere, people will go insane. But I almost think they expect Russians to do it. And it's not as impactful. It's, the Russians. But if the Chinese do it, you look at millions and millions of soldiers and artillery and all this other stuff they actually have that works, people would respond differently, and I think you would see a much larger international outrage. And that's my thought on that. We're up against a break. When we come back...
Hillary Clinton.
Sorry. Just... I'm okay.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network. In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. You didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying cough for the stupid promo.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on the Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific from me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Who listens to the Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across the border, we have to take them in.
Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. Obviously, he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to the Andrea Kaye Show, Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here's Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government stows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Our little brand of fun politics and everything else mashed up into one. Hey, folks, if you haven't had a chance, check out our good friends over at Pundit Press, punditpress.com. Stop getting your news that's recycled from other people. Stop getting your news that have a political twist. Stop getting your news that are written by progressives. Go to a real news source, our friends over at Pundit Press. Tell Dan Butcher, folks, he's not the second best newsman in the business because he's a slouch. He's the second best newsman in the business because, damn it, that's what he is. And he worked hard to get that position. But I want you to go to punditpress.com. Tell them the Sackheads sent you. Throw out some comments. Tell them how awesome we are and how much we love having them. And really do them. You're not doing them any favors, but check them out anyways. So, Hillary.
So, the FBI was able to recover some emails.
What? I have a friend, Blaine. You know Blaine.
I know Blaine.
I have lunch bet on this for a week, I believe. He'll probably text me immediately after the show and say that he didn't say a week, but I have witnesses. A week worth of lunch.
Okay.
That Hillary Clinton will be criminally prosecuted. He doesn't think that the DOJ will have the intent. He thinks she should be, but he doesn't think the DOJ will have the sack to do it because they're no sackheads. I think that they actually have to, as we've talked about this before, and now we move closer. Continue.
I think Blaine's going to lose lunch for a week.
I'm hoping that's the case because I'm really going to save a couple bucks.
And I want some of that action.
Wait a minute, I made the damn good bet. How are you getting in on this?
I want in on it.
Fine, you get in on it. I will give you my free bread.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. But please, go on. What did the FBI discover?
They were able to recover some of the lost emails. Don't know yet if they're of a personal nature only, or if there are some involving
classified documents,
or even business.
Ooh, like shady business, evil business.
It doesn't matter.
Damn it! I want to know.
It doesn't matter because she said all of her work-related emails were turned over.
Right, nothing was removed.
So what does that mean in terms of, look, what if some work-related emails were found and she says that she turned them over and they were subpoenaed?
Mm-hmm. Well, it means that she's in violation of said subpoena, I would think. I'm not a Harvard Law School graduate. I'm just a small-town country lawyer. But given facts be facts, and if A and B still lead you to C, and 1 and 1 is 2, then I think she done lied her ass off, is what I think she done, yeah.
Unless you're using Common Core math, which she is a proponent of.
Right. So in that case, 2 and 5 equal 22, and A and B will lead you to cucumber.
Right.
Okay, good.
Why would you use cucumber and Hillary Clinton in the same analogy?
I don't know. I didn't say eggplant.
Another Freudian slip.
It wasn't until you said something. Nobody else would have said anything.
No.
I don't know. Jersey Joe's in chat right now. So, our good friend Dan Butcher, who is much more classy than we were, probably wouldn't. But now that Jersey Joe just jumped into chat, yeah, it would have got picked up on. Go on.
See, and I told you this.
What? What did you tell me?
I told you that it would be picked up on. So emails are in the process of being recovered. There were, quote, ghosts, shadows and ghosts on the server, which not literally, but, email fragments that are able to be recovered. Nobody knows a precise number. Bloomberg News was the first to report on this. Of course, other news sources, Fox has picked up on it as well, but Bloomberg was the first to pick up on it. And look, Clinton said that her server had not been compromised by a foreign entity. That her private company that she had hired assured her that was the case.
No, there's no doubt this happened.
Right, Sacco.
Making his grand appearance, beautiful as always, sassy as always, Sacco.
He's from like 3 months ago.
Yeah, you want one? You know how you know the single guy in the group? When he would walk in and be like, "Hey, aren't these cookies from 3 months ago?" As he's opening them and putting them in his mouth. Fortunately, that hair takes a lot of the poison out, so that's good. Go on.
So already her campaign, she's trying to backtrack again, where she says, well, if all of the secretaries of state in the past, their emails were requested. Yes, but this whole Benghazi thing started prior to those. These emails were deleted prior to that being requested from all of the past secretaries of state. So she lied again.
No, Hillary?
It seems that way.
That's really strange.
Her polls are. She's slipping down the stripper pole. She's slipping in the polls. And Biden has surged, even though he's not announced his candidacy yet.
Right.
In the recent poll, I hope he gets in.
I so hope. I will actually campaign for Biden, I think. I won't register Democrat or anything, but that's 4 years. 4 years of easy material every week.
At least be the nominee so we get through the election.
The comedy's the hardest part here sometimes. Right? It's easy to get angry over the politics, but to try to make it funny and enjoyable isn't always easy.
It's not.
So for
us it kind of is.
But even there's still some times where we have to kind of dig.
Right.
To find kind of our sort of silver lining, if you will. So Joe would be a constant silver lining in our world of misery.
I hope he announces.
Jersey Joe says her polls are dropping faster than Monica Lewinsky in Bill Clinton's office. Well, it's possible. I think that's a good actual barometer for the speed that her tests are dropping. Listen, a poll of non-conservatives, I believe non-Republicans, independents and Democrats, essentially Green parties and all that stuff.
And she's 50-something% people think she's dishonest. Among that group.
50. Can you imagine if half the people who know you thought you were dishonest? Like, just think about that for a second. Half the people who know who you are in this world would think that you were dishonest. What does that say about you?
That I would be dishonest.
Exactly. That means, my father had a saying, if one person thinks you're an a-hole, maybe he's just missing something about you. But when an entire room of people are calling you an a-hole, it may be time for a little self-introspection. It's just time to look inside a little bit and think, maybe it is me. Listen, when Joe is starting to poll better than Hillary, and he hasn't even announced yet, and
or at least rising as sharply as he has.
Right.
Which is difficult to do at his age.
I was just going to say.
I meant in politics.
Biden got a
little
Viagra in the polls, and he's starting to spike. You're seeing Hillary starting to slide right down the poll, which is horrible for anyone that's in that room.
That's a horrible just visual that causes, too.
You're starting to see Sanders peter out. Oh, what the hell? We're already down the road, right? I might as well.
Right.
And I think that's going to continue to happen because I think even people who are kind of like, hey, the idea of socialism is cool, are starting to listen to him and go, oh, yeah, he's batshit crazy. Great. We need to find somebody else. Two things are going to happen. I think Joe is going to make a decision the next couple weeks. A lot of Joe's decisions are going to be based off of what happens to Hillary, I believe. I believe that he is a company guy, and he will not jump in and hurt Hillary because he won't hurt the party. But once I think he realizes the gig is up for Hillary, he will jump in to try to save the party. I think that you will also see if Sanders goes the way of the dodo, I think you will see Elizabeth Warren try to jump in and pull that vacuum. We've talked about de Blasio, but not a lot of people, even progressives, are excited about de Blasio. O'Malley's name still gets kicked around, but you know what? A lot of people just don't like O'Malley. A lot of people feel that he's just full of hot air and he's kind of useless as tits in a bowl.
And I think the biggest deal for Hillary is she's losing a lot of her support with women. And that's kind of the big in the most recent post ABC survey. Her support has fallen below 50%, and the biggest decline with that is coming from women.
Right.
And another poll this week just showed that she was falling behind Bernie Sanders in Iowa.
Right.
And she has in New Hampshire also.
In New Hampshire already, right. And listen, I think a lot of female Democrats who are supporting Hillary were supporting the female aspect first. And I understand that to a point, right? I have no problem.
Hey, there's another female they could support.
Absolutely. I have no problem with the female president. I've said it time and again. It doesn't bother me. But support, and then you support him for the right reasons. You're starting to see with Hillary what's coming out. Everything that's coming out. She is a liar. Half the country thinks so. And more people. And that keeps going up every time they do that
If
poll.
she gets elected.
Never happened.
You don't think so?
No way. I've said time and again, I think she's going to end up going the way of Petraeus. She's going to get felony probation. Prosecuted. I think she'll take a plea deal and go away. She'll come back like Petraeus just did and try to be some sort of mouthpiece in a couple of years, maybe when people forget what happened. And I wanted to talk a little bit about Petraeus in a minute, so I'll jump back to him. But yeah, I think the more that people see Hillary Clinton for Hillary Clinton, they realize that she is a horrible human being. And that alone is what a lot of people look at before they vote. And that's the first thing they look at is what kind of person is he? I think that's
I still think a large portion votes the letter next to the name.
No. I don't think in this case. I do not think in this case. I think even the
Then
Democrats...
why is she still leading?
But it's falling.
But she's still leading.
Right, but it's still leading because there's nobody else there and it's falling. And it's falling as more evidence. I think this email thing is what people are using to base their decisions off of. I think it was, all right... Well,
or at least take a second look.
Right. I think it was all, okay, well, it's just allegations to start.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course, she's just started running for president. The right's going to throw everything they can, including... And now, all of a sudden, the FBI, who the DOJ runs, who the president runs the DOJ at the end of the day, is starting to take a hard look and have an A-team, and they're starting to come up with stuff that she lied about. I think even the average person who's like, yeah, you know, I don't care if she's a woman, I don't like her. And it's starting to go that way. Listen, conservatives need to be taking advantage of this right now, and not so much. I don't think you need to attack Hillary Clinton anymore. I really don't think you need to, at least not for a while.
I think you need to keep it in the forefront of people's minds, because I don't think this is being reported as widely on some of the more liberal news media. So I think they need to still attack her just so that those sound bites are making it to those other media outlets.
Well. I think it needs to be out there, but I think that's the job of social media. I think that's the job of the press to do. I think the candidates for the conservatives right now need to start focusing on their points. And you know what?
And stop hurting each other.
Well, I think if they keep attacking Hillary Clinton, she will start to garner sympathy at some point. People will start to feel bad for her, and her numbers will start to come back. As soon as she hits as close to rock bottom as she can, which she's not, I think for Hillary Clinton that's not far, really, in her political career. Her rock bottom is not far away. You let her just wallow in it. Don't get that sympathy vote rolling for her, because she will utilize that, and she's a politician. She will spin that and start to roll it back up. So I think now is the time that you start putting your good feet forward and start actually getting your points out. I know there's some of our listeners that don't like Carly Fiorina. I have yet to figure out why. But, you know, somebody brought up a great comment today, and they said, hey, so Carson Fiorina? And I said, at this point, that's as good a bet as any.
Yeah, or Rubio Fiorina?
Yeah, but even Marco's not doing all that well.
He came up in the polls.
A little bit.
He came up in the polls. He's at he and Fiorina, latest Fox News poll that came out today. They're both at 9%.
But you know,
it's right now. It's Trump, Carson, and then Fiorina and Rubio.
Well, and I have my problems with Carson, and we've talked about that before, and I have no problem going back about that.
I think some of the angst with Fiorina in the conservative movement is that she is listed in the top 50 worst executives or CEOs ever. And that's not by a political group that was attacking her. There's a reason she's on that list. And I think that's one of the problems that people have had with her. And she did come out and say give Hillary Clinton accolades in the past, but Greta Van Susteren I think was it Kelly?
Megyn Kelly.
I don't remember if it was Megyn Kelly or no, I'm sorry, it was Bill O'Reilly. Asked her about it, and her answer was, well, yeah, but that was before the Benghazi emails came out, the lies came out, and these other things. And so now, of course, my position has changed on her. Before, I thought she did do some things, and she was a pioneer, and blah, blah, blah. Essentially was her point. I'm kind of paraphrasing here. So I think that's some of the issue with Carly Fiorina.
Right.
But look, she's done incredibly well in the debates. Well, she is incredibly articulate. She is an outsider. She does present herself well. Do I know if she would make a good president? I don't know yet.
Or a VP?
Or a VP? I don't know yet.
Well, and let me get your reaction to this. Because this was an article just dropped on me by Jersey Joe. It's from a website called Ring of Fire. But as CEO of Hewlett-Packard, Fiorina violated U.S. sanctions on Iran, selling millions of computers to them. From 1999 to 2005, Hewlett-Packard sold more than $100 million of computers and other high-tech equipment to Iran, despite the U.S. sanctions at the time. It was done through kind of political mumbo-jumbo. They sold them first to subsidiaries in Europe, who then turned around and sold them to an IT distributor in Dubai known as Reddington Gulf, and then the sales continued long after HP got rid of Fiorina, but by 2007, more than 40% of the printers sold in Iran were HP.
Okay. Look, HP's in business. Did they sell directly to Iran in violation?
No. Did they skirt loopholes? Perhaps.
Yeah. Was what they did legal?
Right. Yes, the way they did it was most likely legal.
And it went through a few different hands. Did she know they were going to ultimately end up in Iran? That would be a big question. If she did, and I haven't read the article, so I don't know. If she did, then yeah, that's problematic. But did she do anything criminal? No, she didn't. She sold them to European countries, which was legal to do, who then sold them to Dubai, which
was legal to do.
And Dubai can sell them to whoever the hell they want.
Right, and even though the sanctions were in place, they ended up there. But they also, one of the things I said about this, yeah, I get it. It's technically computer equipment, but they sold printers for the most part. Most of it was printers.
Now, did she sell printers that wouldn't work so well? Because that would be funny.
That would be really funny if they all just printed in red, white, and blue only.
Right.
That would be hysterical.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think she did so. But I think one of the things that Carly Fiorina brings that people enjoy is the fact that she's not a politician. She's got a strong business background. She's outspoken. I think she's pretty honest.
I mean, like it or not, she has done some positive things and accomplished some things in the private sector.
Yes. And so, it's another name you got to look at. And she's also been, and the GOP's using her correctly about this, she's been the number one attacker on Hillary because there's no response to it, right? They're sidestepping the whole bigotry versus women, if you will, by having her do it. But the other thing is she's done it articulately well. And she's not, everything she's called her out on has been true. So, I think she plays a role in the future. I don't think she'd be a bad VP candidate.
Look, she wouldn't be a bad VP candidate, particularly if you need somebody to really kind of be the bulldog to go after the other side, whether it's Hillary or Biden or whoever it is.
Mm-hmm. So it's just interesting. And listen,
but I like her because she would absolutely be able to carry her own in a debate with anybody the Democrats would throw up.
Oh, I agree. I don't even think the best part would be Joe debating her, just because I'd love to see how many times he tried to hug her and call her toots. Now, or skirt. Hey, look at this little skirt over at the other podium. Hey, let me know when your boss shows up to debate me. What was his name again? I don't even remember. Carl something. Yeah, anyhow, sugar. Hey, isn't it getting close to start time? What are you still doing there? Holy shit, she kicked my ass. But we... you look at the field that we have right now, and you look at a Democrat field where Hillary is gone, and you can say, all right, well, you don't necessarily need Carly Fiorina to be that attack dog for a female. Does she stick around? I say yes. Elizabeth Warren waiting in the wings, that's always something you have to be concerned about. She'd, I think, do just as fine attacking Warren. But I really think that... I really think as it goes forward, she's going to play a critical role in however this campaign works out. Jersey Joe is critiquing her in the chat room, saying that she's been repeating a lot of her answers word for word, and she has mesmerized responses. They all do. Some of them are better at altering them a little bit, but they all do. Even Trump, as much as Trump says he doesn't study or practice for these, they all do. I don't think that's uncommon. But here's the thing that you could say about her is at least she's not changing her answers.
She's not. And look, she has a pretty strong conservative stance on a lot of issues dating back to 2010. And I know that's only 5 years, but that's really when she started getting involved in the political scene. She ran up against Feinstein.
Yes.
In California for the U.S. Senate seat. She lost, but she did run against her. She does have. I mean, you can look at her quotes and so forth on the issues. There are several sites that you can get these from. But you read everything on from abortion to budget and economy, civil rights, and she's pretty conservative. And her 2A stance is pretty strong.
Mm-hmm. And that's for a Californian.
And that's absolutely and that's for California. And you look at her foreign policy, since we're kind of putting this on the heels of Iran, China, the circle of jerks that we talked about earlier. Look, she came out. She said in the debate, she wants to rebuild the Sixth Fleet instead of talking to Putin. No other candidate has said that.
No,
we don't have the Sixth Fleet anymore. And there's been a huge void in the Middle East and that part of the world.
As a result.
As a result. So she said straight out, I want to rebuild the Sixth Fleet. No Iran nuke deal unless we can inspect at any time without any prior notification or 30 days or anything like this. She says our allies need specific help to defeat ISIS. She advised the CIA on Russian affairs after 2007. She has no deal with Russia or Iran on nuclear cooperation. So she has pretty good foreign policy stance. Gun control, again, she's very strong. She's a strong supporter of the Second Amendment. She opposed the 94 assault weapons ban. Let people on the no-fly list purchase guns. It's poorly managed list. Assault weapon ban is arbitrarily about what weapons qualify and what not. She opposes restrictions on 2A all the time. And again, that stance goes back to August of 2010. She's rated an A by the NRA.
Yeah. She has a lot of good things to talk about.
Yeah.
And you can harp on little things. And listen, I know our friend the Unplugged.
She's not running a company. She's dealing with issues that are affecting our country. And I would say the same thing for Donald Trump also. He may be a successful businessman, and that's great from a financial perspective, perhaps. But look, if she laid off 40,000 HP employees, whether that's because the company needed to survive or just because she did it for the fun of it, it doesn't matter. She did it. She wouldn't be afraid to reduce the size of our government either.
Yeah.
As a result of that.
And I know one of the biggest things in our good friend the Unpleasant Blind Guy calls her out on her Muslim relations, and that he feels that she's soft. And a lot of people say that, but if she's the vice president and you have somebody like Carson, who's the president, who's very, very strong against it, the balance is there, actually. It creates a little bit of balance.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem with the president and vice president differing on some things, because it's actually a little bit safer.
It is. And look, the one issue I do have with her is she does not want comprehensive immigration reform. This is from September of 2010, but she does say yes to the DREAM Act.
Well, and that's a problem. And perhaps...
But no candidate's going to be 100%.
Right. Right, and that's the thing. There's no perfect candidate. It's getting to the point where we have to stop looking for Reagan. Reagan's not going to be there ever again. We need to start looking for the person who will be as close to Reagan for our generation as we can get.
Right.
And it's... Sacco's right in there. And it's something that we need to do. We're up against the break. When we come back, we have stuff to talk about. I mean...
The Pope.
Yeah, we had to talk about the Pope. Yeah. When the Pope and Jerry Brown are saying the same thing on almost the exact same day, we're in a bad spot. We'll be back on the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying cough for the stupid promo.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on shrmedia.com.
This is Tammy Jackson, inviting you to join me on the Tammy Jackson Show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific on the 405radio.com. Put down that remote and tune into the show that covers politics, guns and the Second Amendment, religious liberties, sanctity of life, the military, and more. I host newsworthy guests and work hard to be a conservative radio show that's not like all the others. So save Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific for me, Tammy Jackson, on the 405media.com.
Who listens to the Andrea Kaye Show? Let's find out as we eavesdrop on listener Roger Johnson in Encinitas.
You know, if our policy is going to be bring any child who comes across the border we have to take them in.
Okay, so apparently Roger fell asleep in the middle of my brilliant political tirade, and now he plans to sue me because I put him on the air, sleeping. Obviously, he's a liberal.
Snoring, not an option while listening to the Andrea Kaye Show, Tuesday mornings at 11 on Financial News and Talk.
You know I'm right. Y'all know I'm right.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here's Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
And welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show, live on the SHR Media Network. Lacey.
I'm so depressed right now.
I am too. You know, I really hope the city of San Francisco has a lot of hair declogger for their sewage system. I'm just saying that now. They've had some sewerage problems in the past.
Yeah.
And it's about to get worse.
The good thing is I think the hair might actually prevent it from dropping off into the ocean in the event of a major earthquake.
I'm hurt. It'll be woven in through the pipes and hold them.
Yeah, it'll hold them into place. And the person responsible will get a medal.
You won't be able to see it because it'll be buried into their hairy chest.
Right.
It'll sink in like a head in a pillow, but
it'll be there.
But it'll be there.
You'll have to search for it.
Wow. I don't know what to say, guys. That's pretty hurtful to Chewbacca. He's going to...
But congratulations on your new movie coming out in December. I'm looking forward to seeing it. The Force Awakens, right? They reprised your role after all these years. I'm glad.
Yeah, I had to only switch out 3 times.
Yeah. The best part is the only thing Sacco needs to play Chewbacca in that role is stilts. Other than that, he's dialed.
Yeah, stilts and a like that crossbow-looking laser gun.
Yeah.
What?
Bowcaster. His bowcaster. Chewie's bowcaster.
Yeah.
How do you not know what it is? It's a bowcaster.
Whatever.
What are you, an idiot?
Yes.
We'll talk more about that later when he's not in the same room with us.
Wow.
So, the Holy Father is visiting our country as we speak. Stopped off in Cuba on the way, which I don't know if you caught any part of his speech with Raul Castro. But you want to talk about two guys who obviously weren't getting along. There was no smiling. There was no... usually there's a little bit of revelry, if you will, and kind of emotion and happiness.
Aren't Cubans Catholic?
Yeah, but when you're a communist, there's no real religion, is there?
Right.
Ooh. So that happened, and then yesterday he landed in the United States of America for his first visit, and immediately got on the global warming hobby horse. Listen, it is not your job as Pope. Real human rights issues, you want to talk about Darfur and how people are treated. You want to talk about genocide. You want to talk about getting health and aid to people that need it. As the Pope, I can understand that. When you are the leader of the
Catholic Church,
and you come here to talk about something that's non-Catholic Church related, and you use it as a...
Is it really a religious issue?
No, it's a political issue. I hate to say it, it's a political issue.
Because I would think that he would have an understanding that the earth isn't perfect
at all.
It was created by God, but like the declination and the rotation, and I mean, there's going to be variations in time. Didn't we just have a thing where computers had to like jump like 4 billionths of a second or something like that to make up for the rotation of the earth? Or do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, Sacco somewhat knows what I'm talking about.
But we all look at Sacco. Hey, did we hear anything about the computer?
Yeah.
You notice we didn't mention computers on the... Even I was having a problem at the beginning of the show.
Right.
We didn't even mention it until Sacco walks in the room because we had nothing to bounce that off of.
Right. So... The climate's been changing from before we were around. I'm pretty sure we've gone through some ice ages, right? Some great melts.
Some things got hot here and there.
Right. We've had some earthquakes and like some volcanic eruptions.
Well, prime example.
Were the Pompanians? Is that what they are? The Pompanians? Were they responsible for some kind
dogs?
No.
The Pomeranians.
Remember Pompeii? A bunch of people died. Volcanic eruption, right? Were they doing something that caused that volcano to erupt? I mean,
and I say this all the time. When people talk about global warming, I always say, look at the Grand Canyon. How was the Grand Canyon formed? Right, it was a glacier that millions of years ago pushed through the Grand Canyon.
Global warming.
And then it melted well before really we even got here.
Dinosaur farts.
They
were responsible for
the original greenhouse gases.
Right.
So I just don't buy. I just don't buy the global warming thing. I believe that you should preserve nature in the sense that you should not go out and litter, that you should not overhunt if you don't need to. I have no problem with hunters who go out and kill and eat what they kill.
Right.
I'm not a big trophy hunter guy, me personally. I don't. I just don't believe in it. I just think it's silly.
I don't think we need to clear cut every forest in the world.
I love going into the forest. I love going to the hills. I like going to a lake that's clean. All of that being said,
and a good friend of ours,
yes,
Cammie,
yes,
said that look, the best environmentalists are the hunters.
Yes.
I agree with her 100%.
My good friend Pete, humongous hunter, huge environmentalist, but not a global warming believer whatsoever.
Right.
But always believes you clean up what you take in, you only kill what you're going to eat, and that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be very, very cautious about where that line is. The problem is there is money in the global warming movement now. It used to be the Indian crying. Remember that way back in the late 70s, early Indians, the commercial with the Indian who was crying?
Was that because of the environment or because we won?
It was because, I don't remember exactly. I thought it was littering.
Or did nobody buy his cigars? I don't remember.
I don't remember either. He couldn't get a casino, something.
I just remember the guy standing in front of the liquor store with some cigars.
That was a different Indian. I'm talking about the television commercial.
Got it. I don't remember
But that was for littering back in the day. And I still believe that littering is a horrible thing. Look, I'm a smoker. I field strip my cigarettes and I take my filter and I throw it away. I don't litter outside my car. I put things away because it does make things ugly. It does make things bad. I don't think you should throw plastic in the ocean because it wraps up in sea life. You're a diver. You absolutely can understand that.
Mm-hmm.
All those different things. But global warming, because we drive cars and all this other stuff, is bunk. And I will say this to the day I die. It is a moneymaker. It is a scheme. I think it is one of the biggest scams that have been put on the American people, and so many people have bought into. It's not even funny. You have scientists. I talked about scientists from MIT, a climatologist. You have other climatologists around the world who say, hey, we've been telling everybody this isn't happening the way they say it's happening. And as soon as somebody speaks out, they get called a quack and ostracized. It's funny. The Nazis did that to a lot of people. As soon as they spoke out against their agenda, they called them crazy and put them in a mental institution and wouldn't let them talk to other people. It's been done to oppress people for years. It's being done so again. You have these scientists who their life is to study the climate and the earth, and they say, no, it's not changing like they say it is. There's changes that are so minimal we don't even realize it on our day-to-day thing, and we don't have enough evidence to suggest that it isn't a normal cycle. But we don't have evidence to suggest that it's man-made whatsoever. Remember growing up, the hole in the ozone?
Yes.
You couldn't have anything that sprays anything because the hole in the ozone, CFC is the hole in the ozone. Where the hell did that go? Did it seal up? Did it get bigger? We never hear about it anymore, right? Because it lost its push. That push for the ozone layer were in my opinion, the people who made the pumps for sprays, the little hand pumps they wanted to get away from aerosol. And then you see the biggest environmentalists and the EPA come out, a month and a half ago, was it Utah? And screw up the mine water and pollute?
Yes.
And then kind of turn around and say, oh, well...
if we weren't mining, this wouldn't be here.
Right. This wasn't our fault. Okay, well, it was our fault. And we have no plan to deal with this. And essentially, everyone who lives along that river is screwed. Why didn't you leave it how it was? It was contained in rock.
Right.
It was contained in rock. It wasn't going anywhere. Well, if the mine flooded, small amounts may have come out. Yes.
But now, jackasses, large amounts came out.
Right. Because you had to screw with it.
Right.
Because you knew how... And we were making it better. We were trying to make it cleaner. Who's going into those mines? It's not like we're going to open the National Park of Mines. If it ain't broke, stop friggin' fixing it. And it's so bad, folks, that the Pope has shown up on our shores, not to talk about religious freedoms that have been trampled on in this country in the last couple of years.
The plight of Christians.
The plight of Christians throughout the world. Not standing next to what should be the most powerful man on the earth, calling for ISIS to stop murdering Christians all over the place, and all these other things, stop suing Christian-owned bakeries, things that he should be doing, and we get friggin' global warming. Done. Folks, there's a reason I'm a Catholic, technically. I was born and raised a Catholic.
So was I.
There's a reason I don't go much anymore.
Same with me.
Because... Sorry, Sacco. Sacco's the weird one out. And it's not because I don't believe in my faith. It's because the agenda that started to be pushed
in the Catholic
Church. Catholic Church had gone crazy. And it's only getting worse. It's really sad. But it's sheep. I hate to say it, it's sheep to slaughter, right? All he's doing is pushing his flock in the direction.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of protecting it, he's pushing it into the direction. Be a mindless drone. It's fine.
And that's not his job.
No, his job is... We could talk about there's a million different things the Pope should be doing. Pushing environmentalists, being like Jerry Brown, who days after wildfires in California took out entire towns and thousands of homes and people are dead, takes the opportunity when the federal money's declared to say, hey, you're getting help in the region for this horrific tragedy. Oh, and by the way, this is because of global warming. You think those people whose houses burned down give a goddamn about global warming? That tells you how crazy these environmentalists are. They'll take any opportunity to push this friggin' agenda down people's throats. People lost lives. Towns, entire towns in Lake County, California, gone. Because of wildfire. Folks, wildfire didn't show up all of a sudden. It didn't start after the cars were here. It's been going on for years. It's horrible when it affects people's lives, but it's been going on for years. Many scientists used to believe that it's kind of the Earth's way of cleaning out clutter and crud, and it helps new growth by killing some of the older trees, opening up the forest a little, and allowing the saplings more light and more resources. Forest fires were allowed to burn before we ever showed up, and somehow it didn't kill every tree on the planet. Forest fires have always happened. It is a tragedy. And the people who live there I feel horrible for. Most of them understood that that was one of the risks of living there. Now, that being said, could I look one of those people in the eye and say, I'm really sorry, but you knew the risk when you get it? Yeah, it might be a little hard to do. Right? Their home's gone, their life's gone. I understand that.
Right.
It's not the time. Most of the people that live in those areas are very hardy people and are very down-to-earth and nice people. You're talking Lake County, California, which is a very urban, not urban, a very rural area. One of the more conservative areas in California. You're talking about Stanislaus County and the Valley Fire. Same type of thing. But I think most of those people understand. The only complaint that I've heard is that the warnings to evacuate were not issued in a timely manner in certain areas. But most of them will rebuild there, and a lot of other people will rebuild where other wildfires are. You see this. Why? Because that's where they live. They know the risk. They're not stupid people. Even though Jerry Brown and others want to tell them they're stupid because the environment's changing, you're going to move right. No, that's where they live. And that's been the American way of life for a long time. You know, you push back. You get knocked down, your house gets destroyed, you rebuild. You know, we always make fun of the rednecks who stand there when the tornado came by Tornado Alley, saying, oh, we're going to rebuild. Well, why? It's the fourth time, Jethro. You know, but reality is what it is. That is their home, and they're not going to leave it. They don't want the governor to show up from a part of the state that doesn't even listen to their needs on a regular basis anyhow. People don't realize that about California. There's so many areas outside of Sacramento, they're outside of San Francisco, outside of LA and everything, that are completely conservative areas that the state government does not listen to anything, even though they provide a lot of the money in the state budget through agriculture. They don't want to hear it. And then all of a sudden this jackass who ignores them the rest of the year shows up and, a lot of this happened because of global warming. No, it happened because something caught fire, jackass, and there's wood around. Things have been burning for thousands of years. We know this. Knock the crap off. And if you're the Pope, you know what? I don't even want. I cannot stand the Pope right now. Look, and that's a horrible thing to say, and I might get smoked for it. But
his role, the Pope's role, is to guide the community of the Church, of the Catholic faithful, to safeguard them in the truth, and to confirm his brothers and sisters in the faith made possible in Jesus Christ. That's from Father Kevin Beach on the role of the Pope in CatholicMissionLeaflets.org. If you go check it out.
Yep.
It's not to intercede in political diatribe.
Anything whatsoever political. Unless it's to protect the religion from political attacks.
And what does global warming have to do with leading people in the faith?
Right. Nothing. Once again, and you touched on this, and actually a listener texted me in the middle of this. Real quick about the drought in California, because we're still hearing about the drought in California.
Mm-hmm.
Numerous times we could have built water resources. It's been approved for...
Yeah, we were just talking about that before the show.
8-9 years now.
Yeah.
The drought is man-made here in California. Because
our lack of water is man-made here.
Right. Our lack of water is man-made here.
We could have had the resources in place to have water. We waste how many billions of gallons? We've talked about it on the show.
Out the Folsom Lake so a little fish can live, and we pump it into the ocean. We don't even pump it somewhere where we could use it.
We flush the rivers, and it goes out into the bay, into the Pacific Ocean, to flush the rivers.
Right.
Wasted.
Why are we flushing rivers? Because we build dams on the rivers, so we have to flush it. Okay, then why don't you flush it and then collect that water further down the line? I'm not saying don't flush it. I'm not saying whatever. But collect that water. Or find
Look, we've had the budget in place to build those from like the 70s. And we won't do it.
Yeah.
We could have ridiculous amounts of rainfall, and we have no way to collect the water that we need still.
Well, and it's funny because, California is...
Thank you, government.
Oh, brilliant. Once again, the government, California has a great environment to grow a lot of things, but it's also the way the temperature is in soil doesn't get a lot of natural rain in a lot of places. And the farmers know that, and it used to not be a problem when they were able to take water from the river whenever they needed it to grow. California grows half the fruits and vegetables for the entire country. The agriculture does here.
And California used to feed the world.
Yeah, yeah. And now because of political jargon and all the other BS, our farmers listen.
The Democrats.
Yeah, I just drove through the valley going down to L.A. from up here. Every sign.
The Dust Bowl.
Congress created this Dust Bowl. What's more important, high-speed trains or food for families? And it's on every farm you see on the way down and the way up for a reason. You want to talk about the people that should be running this state? It's probably those people because they understand what government at its worst could possibly do. And it's just depressing. So the Pope needs to shut up and go home. Jerry Brown needs to shut up and go away. And California needs to get their head out of their ass. And all of
California won't get its head out of its ass.
We could always split into 6 states.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that, actually.
San Francisco and LA, you form your own.
Sorry, Sacco. You'll now need a visa to come visit the show. Own country, right? You said own country for San Francisco?
Yeah, right, yeah.
A sanctuary country.
Right.
Right. There'll be a fence coming this way, but to go to San Francisco, no problems.
Right.
Yeah, okay, I'm with that. A couple quick reactions. I was talking about the kid, the clock, in Texas.
Oh, geez. You mean what people believe is just a Radio Shack clock that he removed the
whatsoever. You have people now are starting to say, was his intent to frighten people? Even though there wasn't any.
Just a kid trying to cheat in a class is what it sounds like.
Oh, I think he was a kid trying to prove a point. I think that it was, even if it was with bad humor of look at what I can get away with because they won't say anything to me, that went south. I think it was a kid that was trying to prove a point. And the school reacted. Listen, I don't fault the school for their reaction.
I don't either. And what's the pushback going to be? Now, if a real device comes in, is somebody going to be afraid to say something?
Absolutely. That's where I'm going with this. Listen, I don't care if it's this kid because he's Muslim or a white kid that brings in...
you did nothing but weaken a country today.
Right, exactly. Hope you feel good about yourself. I'm going to rip off your head. Doesn't matter. I don't care if it's a white supremacist that walks in with a thing that looks like a bomb, and I don't care if it's I don't care who it is. It is the school's responsibility to act as it is a real device until clear otherwise.
If they fail to do so, I think they're putting kids at risk, and now they're remiss.
Yep, and Jersey Joe said there are people out there saying it was intentionally done to shame the public against anti-Muslim actions. I think all of those are possibilities.
Absolutely.
But the simple fact of the matter is we'll probably never know why he did it, but the reaction and the reaction to the reaction is insane. The reaction was fine. Hey, call the bomb squad, get them out here. This doesn't look right. The science teacher couldn't figure out what it was right away. And you may know, I'm not saying he's a bombs tech, but you're going to know clock components probably if you're running a clock competition or a clock assignment. When it shows up like that and let's get everyone out of here, that's what people do. Listen, they evacuate federal buildings for backpacks that were forgotten.
Yep.
They do it for a reason, because when you don't, and it happens, the Boston Marathon bombing, and it goes south and there's massive loss of lives and injury, then, and only then, will somebody say, why didn't they do it differently? If say that was a device and that teacher did nothing and that school got leveled.
Right.
And maybe it was 2 days later. Like maybe it was a timer on it, and he went home and told his wife, I didn't feel good about it, but I was afraid because the kids, I think he's Muslim, and if I say something, I'm going to be a bigot.
He'd be charged.
Right. It'd be a hate crime. Right.
The teacher would be charged for probably be fired for not saying anything, not following protocols.
If he was in the classroom, he'd be dead.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, we live in a society where bad people are trying to do bad things to good people, and we need to act, and I know it may get tiresome after, but one of the things that happens in a lot of other countries that we don't deal with here and we need to start getting used to is safety protocols. If that means evacuation for a short time, if that means that you have to go to the utmost extreme and call in the professionals to make sure something's safe and secure, other countries deal with this all the time. We have been insulated for so long, but folks, it's happening more and more. We know ISIS is here. We saw the Boston Marathon bombings. It's not going to end. And we need to start dealing with this seriously. And I don't care what your religious is. If you walk into a building and there's a suspicious device, you're going to get the hell out and hope the bomb squad shows up. And I don't care if you're a Muslim, Christian, Jew, whatever. Right? You want to live. Most people do. So we need to stop pussyfooting. Oh, well, this could have been just this guy's a bigot and he thought it was a bomb because the guy was brown. No, he thought it was a bomb because he said make a clock, and this kid brought in something that looked nothing like a clock. But it had components and devices and all this other stuff attached to it. And maybe he did freak out. Maybe he was just nervous and wanted to get everyone the hell out and pull the big red handle. At the end of the day, it's exactly what he should have done. No more than if you walk into your business and there's a metal box sitting on the ground with a big battery on the outside and wires going all over the place that doesn't belong there.
Right.
You're going to pull the big red handle. He acted like a human being.
Yep.
And
if this kid were white, would anybody be saying anything?
No. There's a white kid that threatened a school in Rockland, California a couple days ago. It was a little blurb on the news. He was arrested. School evacuated. Found to be no threat. Kid was arrested. That was it.
Yep, if that kid were any other race, it'd be other racist.
Oh, right. How can they arrest him for that? It was just a high school prank. The kid just wanted to get out of science class. Blah, 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 blah. Jersey Joe with the quote from... it wasn't Meet the Fockers. What was the one before that?
Meet the Parents.
Meet the Parents. Bomb, 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 bomb. You gonna arrest me? Bomb, 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 bomb. During the war, I was a bombardier. But that's exactly where we're at, right? People are afraid to say it. People overreact, and you need to because things are going boom nowadays. It's sad, but it's true, folks. Just like Sacco.
Going boom.
Going boom.
Sacco closed the door on you.
That was the.
As soon as you
that sounded like a
interjected
door
Sacco.
to a moving van, didn't it? Didn't that sound like a door to a moving van?
It sounded like a door to, or a door opening up to a liberal stinkhole.
I don't. Yeah, that was a little bit cleaner than that.
That's true.
Folks, that's it here for the Sackheads Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Make sure you check out all the great shows here on SHR Media. Check out Political Reaver with Jersey Joe, 12 in the East, 9 a.m. in the West, right here on SHR Media. He is just awesome, doing an awesome job there. Make sure you check out the exceptional one, Kenneth McClinton, my favorite, the man I love, and not in a weird way, but I do love the man. I have no problem saying that. And once again, Pundit Press, check out all of our great friends and partners at SHR Media. Sacco.
Check us out next week.
Well, yeah, we're going to be back next Wednesday.
Yeah, I know, but
well, everyone knows that. Why would I say that?
Because you do.
Check us out next week, 11 in the East, 8 in the West, right here on the SHR Media Network. Sacco, play some freaking music.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on some immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio. The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.